It's very difficult to get out here. Usually there are traffic jams like this. Everything we do, the youth chaplaincy of the Vác Diocese is, I think, a unique formation in Hungary. It's owing to the bishop of the diocese, Dr. Miklós Ber, who in 2007 had the idea to establish a separate status, namely that of the youth pastor, whose duty would be to gather up and create a loving community of young people in the age of 12 to 30 living in the territory of the Vác Diocese. And by having done this, he practically promoted the regional youth Virgin Mary communities that already existed at several locations, even that time, to the rank of the diocese, and the youth pastor, that is me, was entrusted with the coordination of these regional communities. I've been really enjoying this task, and it's a great honor that we have been given so much trust from Father Bishop, and we will soon arrive at Vác Hét Kápolna, meaning 7 chapels, because in 2015 the youth chaplaincy received its own headquarters at a beautiful tiny church in Vác. I particularly like it because it's especially linked to the Virgin, a sacral place. It's closely related to our history. There are legends of Saint Ladislaus, King of Hungary, that are rooted at this very location. And when we arrived, one of my colleagues said, "Can you see, Father? There are 7 chapels here, and in the diocese 7 regions. And because we have distributed the territory of the diocese into 7 regions, and we try to hold together the youth in such regional communities." And then he said, "Why don't we devote a chapel to each region?" I replied, "It's not a bad idea at all. And, of course, if you return, I will show you some other interesting things to you." At the beginnings of the regional work, one of our community members was reading Prophet Ezekiel chapter 47, and he shared his readings with the community that he feels that this prophecy is about the regions to spread all around the territory of the diocese. Now I also read out something to you from this prophecy. I saw water coming out from under the threshold of the temple. The water was coming down from under the south side of the temple, south of the altar. Swarms of living creatures will live wherever the river flows. There will be large numbers of fish, so where the river flows, everything will live. Fishermen will stand along the shore. If one goes up to these stairs, can indeed see a spring rising from the right side of the church. This spring is called the Mary Spring. This place is very symbolic for me, as it expresses that in the diocese we don't simply want to organize the youth, we also want them to belong to a special diocesan spirituality, meaning that it's a Marian one. And the quintessence of this diocesan Marian spirituality is that just like Mary, a mother who admits her children, we also want to embrace the youth living in these regions, showing to them that there is place here for everyone, even those who have no community at their own parishes. This is in spirituality in the sense of spiritual movement, as the diocese isn't committed to any spiritual movement. The very essence of our spirituality is that we can channel the values of every movement into the life of the regions, and the young people from the parishes bring along their inner treasures so that these inner treasures could get involved into the circulation of presents. At the very beginning, it was only me responsible for the coordination of the almost 200 volunteers of the region, but in a little while I got a colleague, Clary, head of the youth office, who has been great help for me ever since. Let's knock at her door now. Here is the youth office with its leader. Since then, there's been a pretty serious team supporting me. It's not a single colleague I have, there is a team of fishers of men employed who serve the Menta mission of the youth chaplaincy. This is how we call it, mission. This is a comprehensive name. So, we have some missionary colleagues behind the 200 volunteers. And this biblical part is very nice. When I invited my first colleagues, just like Jesus, I prayed a lot in the previous days. I was looking for a part in the Bible which would define their mission. And then I found the following in the Holy Scripture: I will make you become fishers of men. And since then, we call our colleagues like that. Back then, I didn't think of the prophecy of Ezekiel that fishermen will stand along the shore. Clary called my attention later to this. See, this is also included in the promises. It was a great pleasure for me to recognize this. When I got my assignment as a youth pastor, the first thing I did was to visit the entire diocese, including each and every parish priest. I collected the contact details and created a map of the youth pastoral care, this one here. Our diocese looks like a sitting pulley dog. There are 299 settlements in the diocese. On average, there are 2 or 3 villages per priest, and I had to draw the sad conclusion that there is no youth community for the 14 to 29 age group in 70% of the settlements. And as I looked onto the map, it became visible that in settlements located in the vicinity of Pest, it's easier to maintain the younger generation in communities. But of course, no generalization can be made, because even in the Cherhat region, or in the southern parts of the diocese, one can find some spots characterized with operating living youth communities. And then I raised the question, why? Why are there youth communities? And I made the simple thesis that youth communities only exist if there is somebody to work with them with all his heart and soul. And one can find a priest, a catechist, or a youth leader everywhere who can hold together the local youth. This was the original idea of the Fishers of Men mission as well, to send our colleagues to such locations, and they will organize communities, leading a helping hand to the local priests and catechists. In the same 2 years, it was a great present for us to be able to relaunch regular regional work, for example, alongside the Galga River, with the involvement of volunteers, because this activity halted for an entire year. Or that in the southern Danube and Galga regions, regular camps are organized. There has been no such intensive community life before, and this brought about an explosion-like renewal. We managed to launch the Zagyva region Virgin Mary community with the involvement of local volunteers, and as a result, the region completely covered the entire territory of the diocese. However, in the regions where originally almost exclusively kids joined, in a matter of a few years, we managed to achieve that the majority of the participants were young people, and nowadays the youth leaders are also young people themselves. If it needs to be put into words what youth chaplaincy in reality means, I would say something like it means the regional youth communities belonging to the youth chaplaincy, as well as the entirety of the missions sharing the mission of the youth pastor. As in the course of the years, several sub-areas emerged from the spirituality of the regions, with the help of Mary, with the vocation of helping the youth pastoral care of the parishes. So, as a youth pastor, I'm not replacing their parish priest, as their mission is the primary one, and furthermore, it's not only the chaplaincy providing youth pastoral care in the diocese. We rather provide only supplementary mission a parish is not ready to perform by itself. But we try to launch processes as a catalyst, and they will contribute to the birth of youth communities at the parishes, because this is the very purpose of the youth chaplaincy. The sole and main purpose is to have a Christian youth community at each and every settlement. What kind of youth communities do we want? Primarily, ones that try to become Christian and be able to exist independently, take responsibility for each other and not only for each other, but also in the church and in society alike. And finally, they should be interconnected as if they constituted a network. Directly or indirectly, all our activities aim at this very goal, and this is why we would like to cooperate with the parish priest primarily. Without them, this program wouldn't have been made either. The regions always have their meetings at the parsonages, and several fellow priests of mine serve in the missions together with the catechists as volunteers with all their heart and soul. So we don't only have volunteering youth, but also volunteering priests and catechists, which is a really nice mission because we want to be connected to every subfield and domain. This is also true to the other pastoral care areas to diocese, such as the catechetical reporter or others. And similarly to other spiritual movements, religious orders, all those who want to do something for the youth should be interconnected. I really enjoy my duty that we create such connection points with other colleagues, volunteers, the entire team, and that the young people of the diocese can integrate into such great unity. We are simply called the Mente Youth. This phrase refers to the young people of our diocese.